Hi, my name is Lily and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about my 2020 reading stats. Now, 2020 was perhaps my biggest reading year yet. I read a total of 93 books and around 34,000 pages. Of course, this was a mixture of paperback, hardback, ebook and audiobook and a wide variety of sources. I'm going to break it all down for you and talk about my reading year and also how I think these are going to change in 2021. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is the diversity within the books that I'm reading. This year it was not as diverse as I was hoping for it to be, and I'm really hoping that in the future I'm going to be able to make it more diverse. Of the 93 books I read, 26 had an LGBT main character, 27 had a person of colour as the main character, and only 9 had a disabled main character. Now, I knew the disability number was going to be low because I'm usually quite triggered by disability talk, so that doesn't surprise me, but the LGBT and person of colour ones really did surprise me way more than I was even expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be a lot higher than that. That's less than a third of the books that I read, which is really, really disappointing. I'm really hoping that in the next year I'm going to be able to increase the diversity within my reading. The only problem is I am trying to clear my backlist TBR, and that might still reflect this lack of diversity that my previous reading is having, but I'm hoping that any books that I'm buying in new in the next few months will be more diverse to hopefully boost that diversity. I'm just stepping to the side here in the hopes that I will be able to put some pie charts here for you to see that I have made on Microsoft Word. The first one I'm going to show you is my format pie chart. So as you can see, the biggest proportion was definitely paperbacks. This doesn't surprise me. I have a lot of paperbacks in my backlist and they are much cheaper, and often any that I'm gifted by other people are paperbacks. So yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. Even though paperbacks is one of my least favourite formats, this doesn't surprise me. I only read 5 graphic novels, and honestly I would really like to read more graphic novels. The only problem is they're quite a bit more expensive than normal books, so I don't know if I'll be able to buy any too soon, but I'm really hoping to explore graphic novels a bit more. Audiobooks and hardbacks are definitely my favourite formats, and I'm really happy to see how much of a big chunk they're taking up. I definitely upped my audiobook listening in 2020 and I'm hoping to continue that in 2021. I'm now using Spooks, which tracks what audiobooks are uploaded to Spotify for free so that I can catch up more on there. I still have an Audible membership that I cancel every now and then to build up my catalogue, and I have done a free trial of Scribd and I'm thinking about continuing that possibly. So yes, lots and lots of different options for audiobooks, so I definitely will be continuing that trend. I'd like to think I'll read more ebooks next year because I do have a large ebook library, but I don't know how realistic that's going to be. Next up is my age category pie chart. Now, kind of surprisingly to me, this is overwhelmingly over 50% of them were young adult, and considering the fact that I'm not really enjoying young adult as much as I used to, this really did surprise me. But I think the reason for this is that I still really enjoy young adult fantasy, I'm just not enjoying young adult contemporary as much. So I think it's really the fantasies that have boosted this, because fantasy is definitely still young adult for me rather than adult. I am really proud of the fact that my adult and middle grade proportions are growing, and I'd really like to see a more even split between the 3 age categories next year. New adult is obviously an emerging genre, and a lot of the books that I've categorised as new adult aren't officially new adult, I've just put them there. So I'm hoping that will grow in the future, but that's not really up to me. Next up is my genre pie chart. This is not really surprising to me that fantasy and contemporary take up such large chunks. I have condensed down the genre categories to the main ones here. So I have only included contemporary, fantasy, sci-fi, horror, historical, and I'm missing one, non-fiction. So those are my main categories that I've condensed down into. I do hack more genres in Notion, but I decided to condense it down because the pie chart was getting really difficult to read. Again, I'm a bit surprised by how big the contemporary portion is, because I really didn't think I was reading much contemporary this year, but I think earlier on in the year I read a lot more contemporary, and then later on in the year I read a lot more fantasy and sci-fi. I'd really like to shrink down my contemporary portion, to be honest with you, because I'm not enjoying it as much as I used to. I'd really like to read some more sci-fi. Sci-fi is definitely my favourite genre. I'm just really picky, but I am now starting to find authors that I really like, so I'm really hoping to expand my sci-fi reading even more. The next pie chart is definitely the one that surprised me the absolute most, and that is my star rating pie chart. Now, I am so surprised that 5-star was my most common rating, considering that my average rating was only 3.9. During December, my average was actually like 3.7, 3.8, but I had a couple of 4 and 5 stars come in at the end to boost it up to 3.9. As you can see, my 4 and 5 star reads take up over half of the pie chart, which I'm really happy with. I'm also kind of surprised by how many 1 stars I gave out. I didn't think I'd given out that many, and I thought I had more 2 stars, so I think I had a few that I thought I'd given 2 stars but actually only given 1. I'm a bit disappointed by how big the 3 star chunk is, because honestly 3 stars are the kind of reads that are the most dissatisfying for me, because 1 and 2 stars are so bad that they're kind of enjoyable to read in a hatred sort of way, whereas the 3 stars are just disappointing and lackluster. I'd really like that 3 star to shrink down a bit more, so I'm really hoping to kind of tailor my reading more and also to DNF more. So that was a really quick whistle-stop tour of the stats that I tracked for my reading this year. If there are any extra ones you think I should be tracking, please let me know down in the comments, because I would love to track more, I just don't know what to track yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to read as much next year because we don't know what's going to happen with COVID, and I now am a full-time employee, whereas I was only fully employed for about 3 months of 2020. So who knows how this is going to happen. It could go up, it could go down, it could stay the same. For 2021, I've set my reading goal at 52 as per usual, and unlike 2020, I'm not going to increase it once I hit 52, I'm just going to let it go over 100% on Goodreads. I think I put too much pressure on myself to keep reading, and I didn't enjoy the books as much as I should have. What is really reassuring is that I was convinced I hadn't had many 5-star reads this year and I was going to really struggle with my top 20 video and I just wouldn't have many to talk about. But I think the message of this is that the depression fog and COVID has really warped my perception of what's happened this year. I actually had a much better reading year than I'd ever thought I did. So I'm really hoping that next year I can read more diversely and that I can get that average rating up even more. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more from me. All of my social media links are down in the description below. If you want to leave me a comment to let me know that you are here but you don't have anything to say, leave me a little pie or other pastry emoji if you don't have a pie emoji down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!